Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Welcome back. JC and I are here talking with Dennis Dowdell, best-selling author, who, by the way, has a new book called Maximizing You. Hey Dennis, welcome back.
Thanks so much, and thanks for mentioning the book. It's
Sure.
4 decades of accumulated principles that helped me do what I did in 50 plus countries around the world. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being on our show. I feel like I should bow down right now. I mean, you have so much experience. It's amazing. I'm interested in your new book, Maximizing You, where you offer 45 principles for success. That's a lot. It's exciting. So,
well, it's interesting. My mentor, which everybody I hope would have one, asked me one time, he says, what was your secret that allowed you to create this 250,000 people in all these countries, globally? And I said, well, there were just a lot of principles. He said, make me a list. And so I make the list. And he says, I said, those are the principles that you utilize to create this. And I said, yes. He said, I think you have a book there. And I said, what do you know?
I need a 5-time working through change to write the book.
Yeah, there you go.
As an author myself, I do understand. We have these ideas, and it's like, hey, can it just pop it up in the morning overnight? I dreamed this up. Hey, I want to get back to the topic of change and talking about the difference between like minor change or major change. Big versus small. Not all changes are created equal. What are your thoughts on that?
No question about it. They come in different variances, different length, different intensities and all kinds of things. So, and the thing is we don't get to schedule change all the time. Sometimes it just kind of comes on us, so we don't get to vote. Okay, let's make all changes on Wednesday so that we have time to prepare. No, it doesn't work that way. But the thing with the minor changes is, and especially because those are little changes. Those are the little step-by-step changes. And they can accumulate, the little minor changes, they can accumulate into creating a bigger change. I never would have thought about writing a book. That was way too big. But he said, well, write this down. So I did this step, and then I did this step. And by the time I finished this step, all of a sudden now that created the platform to make the major change. So, we just want to accumulate the minor changes and they can equivalent to a major change. But then again, sometimes we have a major change where everything turns different. And that's when we really need to stop and do some evaluating and take time. I say, you can make minor changes quickly. You make major changes slowly, right?
Ideally, right?
Minor changes are reversible. Major changes generally aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's ideal that we take our time to make the big change, but things like COVID don't always, or a hurricane, as I just mentioned, don't always, let you plan for that. JC, you have some stats you wanted to share?
Yeah, I absolutely do. This discussion, it really makes me think about Eisenhower. I'm on a roll this series, Ms. Wendy, I got to be honest with you. But he did once say, neither a wise man nor a brave man lies down on the tracks of history to wait for the train of the future to run him over. And with that being said, it really gets you thinking about those minor changes, those iterative improvements. One small thing builds upon the next. Minor changes typically affect day-to-day operations, as we know. And while major changes transform entire business strategies, we got to focus on the minors, right? Statistics show that 74% of leaders involve employees in change strategies, but only 42% of employees feel included. And that is critical for success. We got to get that number a little higher. Back to you.
That's very interesting. I'm going to repeat that statistic because wow. So 74% of the leaders are saying, no, we involve the employees, but only 42% of the employees are saying, yeah, they involve us. it's definitely, we need to change our viewpoint to what the word involve really means. So what are your thoughts on that, Dennis?
Well, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the saying, all miscommunication is the result of differing assumptions. And it sounds a little bit broad, but when you think about it, well, they assumed one thing, 43 assumed that you were, but, the leader, 72% assumed. So the differing assumptions creates a miscommunication. And so, it's very important for us to, okay, let's make sure everybody's on the same level and, to evaluate that.
Yeah, super, super important. And for our listeners, I really want you to question this yourself as well, because I'm going to now, even with all my clients, where I say things like, oh yeah, well, I included you in the conversation. By the way, this works at home too. Hey, I included you on our vacation trip, our vacation planning, or, what we're doing this weekend. And then the other partner or the other employees are like, no, you didn't. You just dropped the bomb on us at the meeting. And that's what you called being included. So we really have to figure out, what do we mean by including people? We obviously can't include people in every single decision that's ever made. That's why we have different levels in the org chart, but we have to figure out how to communicate that better. With that said, everybody, thanks for listening to episode 3 of our 5-part series on mastering change. In our next episode, we're going to cover separating yourself in order to focus on necessary change. And I want to remind you that Aurora Training Advantage has amazing webinars. There is a few more coming up in November. One is called Igniting Team Engagement. There's that engagement word again. There's another one about building a pay grade structure. No matter how small your business is or large, you should have a pay grade structure. And then, of course, we have one more about dealing with FMLA abuse. Check them out on auroratrainingadvantage.com to discover all the webinar options. Thanks for joining us, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.